The stars looked different from here. Ambassador Hyunwoo Park pressed his hand against the cool metal of the observation deck window and watched the massive space station grow larger as their ship approached. Nexus Prime was unlike anything humanity had ever built. It stretched across space like a metal city, its towers and domes glowing with alien lights. "Sir, we'll be docking in 20 minutes, said Ji-Hai Kim, his diplomatic aide. She stood beside him, her tablet ready with notes and schedules. Ji-Hai had been with the diplomatic corps for 8 years, but this was different. This was humanity's first contact with the Galaxy Council. Hyunwoo nodded and straightened his formal diplomatic jacket. After 40 years of life, 30 of them in service to Earth's government, he had never imagined he would be the one to represent all of humanity to alien civilizations. The weight of 7 billion people rested on his shoulders. "Are you nervous?" Ji-Hai asked quietly. "Terrified," Hyunwoo admitted with a small smile. "But that's good. It means I understand how important this is." Behind them, Admiral Dongmin Lee was checking the ship's systems one final time. The U.S. Harmony was Earth's most advanced vessel, built specifically for this mission. It carried no weapons, only gifts and knowledge to share with their new galactic neighbors. The discovery of faster-than-light travel had changed everything for humanity. For decades, Earth's scientists had worked toward this moment. Now, finally, humans could join the community of spacefaring civilizations. The Galaxy Council had agreed to meet with Earth's representatives, and Hyunwoo carried hopes for trade, knowledge sharing, and peaceful cooperation. "Look at that," Admiral Dongmin said, joining them at the window. 12 different alien species all working together for thousands of years. Think of what we could learn from them. The docking process was smooth. Alien technology guided their ship into a berth designed for vessels much larger than the Harmony. As they walked through the airlock, Hyunwoo felt the artificial gravity shift slightly. The air tasted different too, cleaned and recycled through systems he couldn't imagine. Their escort was a tall, crystalline being that introduced itself as Thexara of the Veltari species. Its body looked like living diamond, and when it spoke, the words came from somewhere inside its chest in perfect English. "Welcome to Nexus Prime, humans," Thexara said. Its voice had no emotion that Hyunwoo could detect. "The council will see you in 3 days. Until then, you may explore the station and prepare your presentation." Ji-Hee stepped forward with her tablet. "We've brought gifts from Earth, art, music, scientific data. Where would you like us to—" "Gifts are not necessary," Thexara interrupted. "The council is interested in facts. Your species' capabilities, your intentions, your potential." The way it said potential made Hyunwoo uncomfortable, but he kept his expression neutral. "Of course. We're here to answer any questions the council might have." Their quarters were comfortable but simple. The walls showed images of space, and the furniture adjusted to human proportions automatically. As they settled in, Ji-Hai reviewed their presentation materials while Hyunwoo studied what little they knew about the council species. The Veltari were ancient, possibly the oldest spacefaring race in the galaxy. The Morden were gaseous beings who lived in the atmospheres of gas giant planets. There were 10 other species, each with their own worlds and cultures, all united under the Council's leadership for over 5,000 years. "It's impressive," Ji-Hai said, looking over his shoulder at the data. "No wars, no conflicts. They've created a perfect, peaceful civilization." "Maybe," Hyunwoo said, but something bothered him about that idea. In his experience, perfect peace usually meant someone was being controlled. Over the next 2 days, they explored the station. It was beautiful but sterile. The aliens they met were polite but distant. No one seemed curious about human culture or interested in casual conversation. They asked questions about Earth's military, its population growth, and its expansion plans, but showed little interest in human art or philosophy. On the second day, Ji-Hai noticed something odd. "Sir, I've been tracking our movements. We're being watched constantly, and some areas of the station are completely off limits to us." Hyunwoo wasn't surprised. Caution is understandable. We're unknowns to them. But that night he couldn't sleep. He kept thinking about the questions the aliens asked. They weren't the questions of beings interested in friendship. They were the questions of beings trying to assess a threat. The morning of their presentation, Admiral Dongmin joined them for breakfast. "The ship's sensors have been picking up some unusual activity," he said quietly. "Lots of encrypted communications between the station and various planets. More than normal, according to our data. What do you think it means? Jihai asked. Could be anything, the Admiral replied. Maybe they're just excited about meeting humans. But his tone suggested he didn't believe that. The council chamber was enormous. 12 different beings sat in a circle, each representing their species. Some were recognizable as physical creatures. Others were energy patterns or environmental suits containing who knew what. At the center was a holographic display where Hyunwoo would make his presentation. Humans of Earth, Thexara announced. Present your case for membership in the Galaxy Council. Hyunwoo stepped forward. He had practiced this speech hundreds of times, but standing here, surrounded by alien minds that had shaped galactic civilization for millennia, the words felt small. Honored council members, he began. Humanity comes before you with open hands and open hearts. We are a young species, but we are eager to learn and contribute to galactic civilization. He activated the holographic display. Images of Earth appeared, showing its blue oceans and green continents. Then came images of human achievements, art, music, literature, scientific discoveries. We bring diversity, Hyunwoo continued. Earth is home to thousands of cultures, each with unique perspectives and knowledge. We believe this diversity could benefit the galactic community. He showed them recordings of human music, from classical symphonies to folk songs from every continent. He displayed paintings and sculptures, poetry and literature translated into galactic standard language. We also bring innovation, he said, moving to scientific achievements. Human minds approach problems differently. We've developed unique solutions to challenges of energy, medicine, and space travel. The council members listened in silence. Their faces, when they had faces, showed no emotion. The energy beings flickered occasionally but gave no other signs of interest. Most importantly, Hyunwoo concluded, we bring a desire for peace and cooperation. Humanity has learned from its conflicts. We've unified our planet under a single government dedicated to peaceful expansion and mutual understanding. We ask only for the chance to prove ourselves worthy partners in building a better galaxy. When he finished, the chamber was silent for a long moment. Then Thexara spoke. The council will deliberate. You will have our decision in 3 days, that was it. No questions, no discussion, no opportunity for dialogue. The humans were dismissed. Back in their quarters, Jihai paced nervously. That wasn't what I expected. They barely seemed interested. Admiral Dongmin was more direct. They've already made up their minds. This whole thing was just a formality. We don't know that, Hyunwoo said, but he felt the same unease. We have to trust the process. Over the next 3 days, the station's activity increased dramatically. Ships arrived and departed constantly. The humans were confined to their quarters, for their safety according to their guards. The few aliens they saw moved with purpose and urgency. Something's happening, Jihai said on the 3rd morning. This doesn't feel like celebration preparation. Hyunwoo had reached the same conclusion. The Galaxy Council wasn't preparing to welcome humanity. They were preparing for something else entirely. When the summons came to return to the council chamber, all 3 humans knew their fate had been decided. The question was whether they would live to deliver the news to Earth. The council chamber felt different this time, colder. The 12 alien representatives sat in their circle, but now their attention was focused and sharp. Hyunwoo could feel the weight of their stares as he entered with Jihai and Admiral Dongmin. Thexara rose from its crystalline seat. The light inside its body pulsed with what might have been anticipation or anger. Humans of Earth, the Galaxy Council has reached its decision regarding your species. Hyunwoo stepped forward, his hands clasped behind his back in a formal diplomatic pose. We are ready to hear your judgment, Counselor. For 3 days we have examined the data you provided. We have also consulted our own intelligence regarding your species and your planet. Thexara's voice echoed in the chamber. The Council has concluded that humanity represents an unacceptable risk to galactic stability. The words hit like a physical blow. Jihai gasped softly beside him. Admiral Dongmin's jaw tightened. But Hyunwoo kept his expression neutral, even as his heart began to race. I don't understand, Hyunwoo said carefully. We came here in peace. We've shown you our culture, our achievements, our desire for cooperation. Your presentations were noted, replied another council member, a being of swirling gas contained within a transparent sphere. However, the council's decision is based on more comprehensive analysis. Thexara activated the chamber's central display. Images of Earth appeared, But these were different from the ones Hyunwoo had shown. These focused on human cities, industrial complexes, military installations. Observe, Thexara said. In the past century, your species has increased its population by 400%. Your industrial output has grown by 800%. Your technological advancement rate exceeds any species we have encountered. More images flashed past. Historical footage of human conflicts, weapons development, space exploration missions. Your species exhibits classic patterns of what we term exponential aggression, continued the gaseous being. Rapid reproduction, territorial expansion, and adaptive warfare psychology. Those are survival traits, Admiral Dongmin interjected. Every successful species has them. Not to this degree, Thexara replied coldly. Most species plateau after reaching space capability. They achieve balance. Humans continue to accelerate. You consume resources, expand territory, and develop weapons at rates that would destabilize any region you entered. Hyunwoo felt anger building in his chest, but forced himself to remain calm. You're judging us based on our past. Humanity has evolved. We've unified our planet, ended warfare among ourselves. Temporarily, said a third council member, a metallic being with multiple arms. Our models predict that within 2 centuries humans will have colonized dozens of worlds. Within 5 centuries you will control entire star systems. Within a millennium you will challenge the established galactic order. That's speculation, Jihai said, stepping forward. You can't condemn an entire species based on mathematical models. We can and we must, Thexara responded. The Galaxy Council has maintained peace for 5,000 years by preventing exactly this scenario. We have learned that young, aggressive species either destroy themselves or destroy others. Humans show no signs of self-destruction. The chamber fell silent except for the soft humming of alien technology. Hyunwoo looked around at the 12 faces staring down at him. Some were alien and unreadable. Others showed what he could only interpret as disgust or fear. What is your decision? He asked quietly. The Galaxy Council declares humanity a Category 5 extinction risk, Thexara announced. Your species will not be granted membership. Furthermore, any human expansion beyond your solar system will be met with immediate military response. You're imprisoning us, Admiral Dongmin said, his voice rising. Condemning 7 billion people for crimes they haven't committed. We are protecting the galaxy, the gaseous being replied. This decision is final and non-negotiable. Hyunwoo felt the weight of failure crushing down on him. Everything humanity had worked for, all their hopes and dreams of joining galactic civilization, destroyed in a matter of minutes. However, Thexara continued, the Council recognizes that this message must be clearly communicated to your species. Therefore, we have decided to make an example. What kind of example? Jihai asked, though her voice suggested she already feared the answer. Ambassador Hyunwoo Park, as the official representative of humanity, you are hereby sentenced to execution. Your death will demonstrate to your species the consequences of challenging the established galactic order. The words seemed to echo in the vast chamber. Hyunwoo felt strangely calm, as if the worst thing imaginable had happened and now there was nothing left to fear. You can't do this, Jihai said, her voice shaking. He's a diplomat. He has immunity under galactic law. Galactic law applies to member species, the metallic being replied. Humans are not members. You have no legal protections here. Admiral Dongmin stepped forward. Take me instead. I'm military. Let the diplomat go. The symbolism must be precise, Thexara said. A military death would suggest warfare. A diplomatic death suggests the end of negotiation. Hyunwoo looked at his companions, then back at the council. I request permission to send a final message to Earth. Granted, Thexara said. You have 5 minutes. They brought him to a communications station at the edge of the chamber. Hyunwoo sat down and activated the quantum transmitter that would carry his words across space to Earth. Jihai and Admiral Dongmin stood beside him, both struggling not to cry. My fellow humans, he began, looking directly into the recording device. This is Ambassador Hyunwoo Park speaking from Nexus Prime. I want you to know that I have had the honor of representing you all to the Galaxy Council. He paused, choosing his words carefully. This message would shape humanity's response to what was coming. The Council has decided that humanity cannot join galactic civilization. They fear us not because we are evil, but because we are strong. They have sentenced me to death as a message to our species. Ji-hai wiped tears from her eyes. Admiral Dong-min stood at attention, his face hard as stone. I want you to remember who we are, Hyun-woo continued. We are explorers, dreamers, builders. We are survivors. We have faced extinction before and emerged stronger. Whatever comes next, remember that we chose peace first. We extended our hand in friendship. He looked directly into the camera, thinking of his wife and children back on Earth, of the billions of people who would soon learn of his fate. Do not let my death be meaningless. Learn from this. Grow stronger, survive, and never ever give up hope that someday, somehow, we will find our place among the stars. The transmission ended. Thexara approached with 2 other council members. It is time, the crystalline being said. They led him to the center of the chamber. A device rose from the floor, glowing with energy that made the air itself shimmer. Hyun-woo recognized it as some kind of molecular disintegrator. Any final words? Thexara asked. Hyun-woo looked up at the council members surrounding him. You've made a terrible mistake. Humanity's greatest strength isn't our weapons or our numbers. It's that we never forget our friends or forgive our enemies. Your threats mean nothing here, the gaseous being replied. That wasn't a threat, Hyun-woo said quietly. That was a promise. The device activated. Energy flowed through Hyun-woo's body, breaking down the molecular bonds that held him together. In the last seconds of his life, he thought of Earth, of blue skies and green forests, of his family, and of the future humanity would have to build without him. The chamber fell silent as his body dissolved into nothing. Ji-hai collapsed to her knees, sobbing. Admiral Dong-min stood rigid, his fists clenched so tight his knuckles were white. You are free to return to your vessel, Thexara announced. Depart our space immediately. If any human ship approaches Council territory again, it will be destroyed without warning. As they walked back to their ship, Admiral Dong-min put his arm around Ji-hai's shoulders. He died with honor, he said softly. What do we tell Earth? She whispered. The Admiral's voice was cold as space. We tell them the truth, and then we let them decide what to do about it. Behind them, the council members began to disperse, confident they had ended a threat before it could begin. None of them understood that they had just declared war on the most dangerous species in the galaxy. The message reached Earth 72 hours after Hyun-woo's execution. President So Young-choi watched the recording alone in her private office first, then again with her Security Council. By the third viewing, her hands had stopped shaking, but her eyes remained hard as steel. Prepare an emergency session of the Global Assembly, she told her Chief of Staff. Every nation, every leader. And get me Defense Minister Tae Ho-jung immediately. Within 6 hours, representatives from every nation on Earth had gathered in the Global Assembly Hall in Geneva. The building had been constructed 20 years earlier, when humanity finally unified under a single government. It had been built to celebrate peace and cooperation. Today, it would serve a very different purpose. President So Young stepped to the podium. The hall was silent except for the soft hum of translation devices. Every eye was focused on her face as she began to speak. My fellow humans, she said, her voice carrying to every corner of the hall and broadcast to every corner of Earth. 72 hours ago, Ambassador Hyun-woo Park was murdered by the Galaxy Council. He died representing all of us, carrying our hopes for peace and cooperation with alien civilizations. She paused, letting the words sink in. Many in the audience had tears in their eyes. Others looked angry. Some looked afraid. The Galaxy Council rejected humanity's application for membership. They declared us a threat to galactic stability. They sentenced our ambassador to death as an example to our species. They have forbidden us from expanding beyond our solar system under threat of military action. Defense Minister Tae Ho-jung stood at attention beside the podium. He was a small man, but everyone in the hall knew his reputation. Before becoming defense minister, he had been the architect of Earth's planetary defense systems. The Galaxy Council believes they can cage humanity like animals, President So Young continued. They believe they can murder our representatives and we will accept their judgment. They believe we will submit to their authority and abandon our dreams of exploring the stars. Her voice grew stronger, filled with steel and fire. They are wrong. The assembly erupted in applause. Some delegates stood, others shouted approval. President So Young waited for silence before continuing. I am hereby authorizing Defense Minister Jung to implement all necessary measures to ensure humanity's survival and freedom. We will not be caged. We will not be controlled. And we will not forget our murdered ambassador. She stepped aside and Minister Tejo approached the podium. Unlike the president's emotional speech, his voice was calm and precise. Ladies and gentlemen, what I am about to tell you is classified at the highest levels. 3 years ago, we began a project called Prometheus. This project was designed to prepare humanity for the possibility that our first contact with alien civilizations might not be peaceful. He activated a holographic display showing technical diagrams and star charts. Dr. Wu Jin Kang, our leading expert in xenobiology and strategic warfare, predicted this exact scenario. He convinced us to prepare for the worst while hoping for the best. Dr. Kang stepped forward from the audience. He was an older man with gray hair and tired eyes, but when he spoke, his voice carried absolute confidence, and for 30 years, I have studied every piece of data about alien civilizations that we could intercept. I analyzed their technologies, their social structures, their military capabilities. What I found was disturbing. The display changed to show images of alien worlds and species. The Galaxy Council isn't a democracy or a federation. It's an empire. For 5,000 years, they have controlled galactic civilization by eliminating any species that might threaten their power. They have committed genocide dozens of times, always under the excuse of maintaining stability. Shocked murmurs filled the hall. This was not the peaceful galactic civilization humanity had hoped to join. The Council made 2 critical mistakes, Dr. Kang continued. First, they allowed our diplomatic mission to gather intelligence about their technologies and defensive systems. Second, they assumed that killing our ambassador would make us submit. Minister Tejo returned to the podium. Project Prometheus has been developing weapons and strategies specifically designed to counter alien technologies. We studied every piece of data from the Harmony's mission. We know their weaknesses. Admiral Min Seo-han stepped forward. She was the youngest person in the room to hold such a high rank. Promoted for her brilliant, tactical mind and her understanding of space warfare. The UES Harmony deployed nanoscale reconnaissance devices throughout Nexus Prime. During the diplomatic mission, she announced, we have detailed intelligence on alien defensive systems, communication networks, and the locations of all 12 Council worlds. The assembly fell silent. Everyone understood the implications. General Kyung-Soo Yoon, Earth's senior military strategist, activated another display. This is the Extermination Protocol. It is humanity's response to existential threats. The display showed military formations, weapon systems, and strategic plans that had been developed in secret over 3 years. The protocol has 3 phases, General Kyung-Soo explained. Phase 1. Eliminate alien military capabilities in our local space region. Phase 2. Disrupt alien communication and coordination networks. Phase 3. Systematic destruction of enemy infrastructure until surrender is achieved. President So-young returned to the podium. The Galaxy Council believes they understand humanity because they've observed us for a few months. They don't understand that everything they fear about us is true, but not in the way they think. She looked out at the assembly, her voice filled with quiet determination. We are aggressive, but not mindlessly. We are territorial, but we protect what we love. We are adaptive, but we learn from our mistakes. Most importantly, we are survivors. We have survived ice ages, plagues, wars, and disasters that would have ended other species. The president activated the communication system that would broadcast her words to every corner of the galaxy. Galaxy Council, you have murdered our peace. You have chosen war over diplomacy. You have threatened our species with extinction. Humanity accepts your challenge. She paused, her eyes hard and cold. You wanted to see what humans do when cornered. You're about to find out. The broadcast ended. In the silence that followed, Minister Tejo issued the first orders. Admiral Min Seo, begin Phase 1 operations immediately. Target all alien installations within 50 light-years of Earth. General Kyung-Soo, activate all reserve forces. I want every human world fortified within the week. Dr. Kang, initiate the biological warfare research protocols. I want weapons that can target specific alien species without harming humans. The assembled delegates watched as Earth's leadership transformed from diplomats to war commanders in a matter of minutes. The transition was smooth, efficient, and terrifying. President So-young made one final statement to the assembly. When Ambassador Hyunwoo died, he told us to remember who we are. We are humans. We build, we explore, we create, we love. But when threatened, we become something else entirely. She looked directly into the cameras broadcasting to the galaxy. We become what nightmares are made of. Within hours, shipyards around Earth began producing warships. Factories that had made exploration equipment retooled for weapons manufacturing. Scientists who had been studying alien culture began developing ways to exploit alien weaknesses. The most terrifying aspect wasn't the speed of the mobilization, it was how prepared humanity had been for this moment. 3 years of secret planning had created a war machine that could activate at a moment's notice. Captain Hye-jin Park, Ambassador Hyunwoo's sister, received her new assignment that evening. She would command the experimental warship UES Retribution, equipped with weapon systems based on captured alien technology. My brother believed in peace, she told Admiral Min Seo during their briefing. He died for that belief. Now I'll make sure his death wasn't meaningless. The Admiral nodded. What will you do when we find the aliens responsible? Captain Hyejin's smile was cold and sharp. I'll show them what happens when you murder someone's family. As night fell on Earth, millions of people looked up at the stars. For the first time in human history, they didn't see wonder and possibility. They saw a battlefield. The Galaxy Council had created exactly what they feared most. A unified, angry, technologically advanced human species with nothing left to lose. They had turned humanity's greatest dreamers into its most dangerous warriors. The war for humanity's survival was about to begin. 6 months after Hyunwoo's execution, the galaxy learned what human warfare looked like. Admiral Min Seo Han stood on the bridge of the UES Vengeance, watching her fleet approach the alien outpost at Kepler 442. 27 human warships moved through space in perfect formation, their hulls black as the void between stars. These weren't the exploration vessels humanity had originally planned to build. These were predators. Admiral, we're detecting 50 alien vessels defending the station, reported Commander Jae-Sung Lee from the tactical station. Mixed fleet composition. Feltari crystal ships, Morden gas haulers converted for combat, and what looks like automated defense platforms. Min Seo smiled coldly. They still don't understand. Commander, implement pattern Delta 7. The human fleet split into 3 groups, each moving in directions that seemed random to the defending aliens. But Min Seo knew exactly what she was doing. Dr. Kang's research had revealed that alien military tactics hadn't changed in centuries. They fought like civilized beings, following rules and patterns that made sense for peaceful species. Humans fought like survivors. Target their communication arrays first, Min Seo ordered. I want them blind and confused before we start the real attack. The human weapons were unlike anything the galaxy had seen. Instead of energy beams or projectile weapons, they fired clusters of nanobots that consumed alien hull materials and converted them into more nanobots. Within minutes, the alien communication systems began failing. Sir, they're trying to retreat, Commander Jae-Sung reported. Let them, Min Seo replied. But not all of them. The third human group had positioned itself to cut off the alien escape route. As the panicked alien fleet tried to flee, they found themselves trapped between 3 human formations. The battle was over in 40 minutes, but Min Seo wasn't done. Launch recovery teams. I want prisoners and I want their technology intact. This was the part that would have horrified Ambassador Hyunwoo. Humans didn't just defeat their enemies anymore. They studied them, learned from them, adapted their own tactics. Every battle made humanity stronger and their enemies weaker. Meanwhile, Captain Hye-jin Park was conducting her own mission in the Outer Rim territories. The UES Retribution was a different kind of weapon entirely. Where other human ships were built for direct combat, the Retribution was designed for psychological warfare. Captain, we're approaching the Morden colony at Wolf 359, reported Lieutenant Dong-hyun Kim. Population, approximately 50 million gaseous beings living in the planet's atmosphere. Hyejin studied the tactical display. The Morden were one of the original Galaxy Council species, known for their peaceful nature and their beautiful atmospheric cities. Before the war, humanity might have marveled at their civilization. Now they were targets. Deploy the atmospheric scrubbers, she ordered. The Retribution released thousands of small devices into the planet's atmosphere. Each device was designed to alter the chemical composition of the air that the Morden needed to survive. It wasn't poison exactly, but it would make their entire planet uninhabitable within days. Captain, we're receiving surrender broadcasts from the planet, Lieutenant Dong-hyun reported. Tell them the terms, Heejin replied. Complete withdrawal from all Council military operations, full disclosure of Council strategic plans, and formal apology for my brother's murder. She paused, thinking of Hyun-woo's final words. And tell them this is what happens when you kill diplomats. The Mordoon surrendered within hours. It was the first time in galactic history that an entire planet had been forced to capitulate without a single shot being fired at military targets. Back on Earth, General Kyung Soo-yoon was coordinating the largest military operation in human history. From his command center beneath Geneva, he tracked dozens of simultaneous battles across a 100-light-year radius. Sir, Admiral Min Seo has secured the Kepler system, reported Colonel In-soo Park. Captain Hae-jin has neutralized Wolf 359. Captain Sung-ho Kim has destroyed the alien supply depot at Gliza. General Kyung-soo nodded, updating his strategic display. The red dots representing alien positions were disappearing one by one, replaced by blue dots marking human control. What's the status on the Council's main defensive line? He asked. Crumbling, replied Dr. Kang, who had been monitoring alien communications. They're trying to coordinate a response, but our communication jammers are preventing effective coordination. Their commanders are essentially fighting blind. The doctor pulled up intercepted alien transmissions. They're calling us the Swarm and the Plague. They don't understand our tactics because they've never faced an enemy that learns and adapts during battle. General Kyung-soo allowed himself a brief smile. Show me the Nexus Prime analysis. The holographic display shifted to show the massive space station where Hyun-woo had died. It was the Galaxy Council's capital, defended by the most powerful fleet in alien space. Our intelligence estimates 12,000 alien vessels defending the station, Colonel In-soo reported. Every species in the Council has ships there. And they're all using the same tactical database, Dr. Kang added. They share information which makes them predictable. They can't adapt individually because they're too coordinated. It was humanity's greatest advantage. Human military doctrine emphasized individual initiative and adaptive thinking. Every human captain could modify their tactics in real time. The aliens, with their centralized command structure, couldn't respond fast enough to human unpredictability. Sir, we're ready to begin Phase 2 operations, General Kyung-soo announced to President So-young via secure communication. The president appeared on his screen, looking older and more tired than she had 6 months ago. Leading humanity through its first interstellar war had aged her, but her resolve remained unshaken. Do it, she said simply. Phase 2 began with the capture of the alien communication hub at Proxima Centauri. Captain Woo Bin Song led a boarding action that should have been impossible. His team of human marines used powered armor and neural interface technology to move and think faster than any alien species could react. Sir, we're in, Captain Woo Bin reported to General Kyung-soo. The aliens are fleeing. We have control of their main communication array. Excellent, Dr. Kang. Initiate the virus protocol. Dr. Kang's team had spent months developing computer viruses specifically designed to attack alien information systems. Within hours of capturing the communication hub, these viruses were spreading throughout the Galaxy Council's networks. Alien commanders suddenly found their tactical displays showing false information. Their ships received contradictory orders. Their automated defense systems began attacking each other. The psychological effect was devastating. Species that had ruled the galaxy for millennia suddenly couldn't trust their own technology. Sir, we're intercepting panic transmissions from multiple Council worlds, reported Colonel In-soo. They're asking each other if they're under attack by some kind of machine. Intelligence. General Kyung-soo laughed grimly. In a way they are. They're under attack by human intelligence, which is apparently something they never prepared for. Admiral Min Seo's fleet had grown to over 200 ships as more vessels completed construction in Earth's shipyards. Humanity's industrial capacity, refined through centuries of warfare and survival, was producing warships faster than the aliens could destroy them. Admiral, we've secured the Outer Rim territories, reported Commander Jae-sung. 43 alien worlds have surrendered. The rest have been evacuated. Good, Min Seo replied. Begin Phase 3. Target the core Council worlds. Phase 3 was different from the previous operations. Where Phases 1 and 2 had focused on military targets, Phase 3 targeted the alien civilizations themselves, not to destroy them, but to demonstrate humanity's complete tactical superiority. Captain Hyojin led the assault on Veltar Prime, the crystalline homeworld of Thexara's species. The Retribution approached the planet alone, ignored by the massive defensive fleet that should have destroyed it. "Sir, they're not shooting at us," Lieutenant Donghyun reported, confused. "That's because we're broadcasting a surrender frequency," Hyojin explained. Dr. Kang's team figured out their automated systems recognition codes. "As far as their computers know, we're a friendly vessel coming home from battle." The Retribution landed on the planet's surface unopposed. Hyojin led a small team to the planetary capital, where the Veltari leadership waited in their crystal spires. When she met Thexara in person, the alien seemed smaller than she had expected. Less imposing. The being that had sentenced her brother to death looked fragile and afraid. "You came here alone," Thexara said, its voice carrying notes of confusion and fear. "I didn't need an army," Hyojin replied. "That's what my brother was trying to tell you. Humans don't need to conquer you. We just need you to understand that we could if we wanted to." She handed Thexara a data device. "This contains a complete analysis of your military capabilities, your defensive systems, and the locations of every Veltari in the galaxy. We know everything about you." The crystalline being's light dimmed as it accessed the data. "How? We learn," Hyojin said simply. "That's what humans do. We observe, we adapt, we improve. You've spent 5,000 years believing you were the dominant species in the galaxy. You were wrong." Similar scenes were playing out across dozens of worlds. Human forces were demonstrating their Compal 1 year after Ambassador Hyunwoo Park's execution. President So-young Choi stood in the same chamber where he had died. But now, instead of facing judgment, she was delivering it. The Galaxy Council chamber on Nexus Prime looked different under human control. The alien symbols had been replaced with simple, clean displays showing star charts and diplomatic protocols. The 12 seats that had once held the galaxy's rulers now sat empty except for 5. 7 council species had been completely defeated. 2 had fled to distant galaxies. 3 had surrendered and requested mercy. 5 representatives sat before President So-young, waiting to learn their fate. Thexara of the Veltari was among them, its crystalline body dim and cracked. The once proud being that had announced Hyunwoo's death sentence now looked fragile and defeated. "Honored President," Thexara said, its voice barely above a whisper. "The Galaxy Council formally surrenders to humanity. We request mercy for our species and accept any terms you deem appropriate." President So-young looked down at the alien beings. She felt no satisfaction in their defeat, only a deep sadness for what could have been avoided. "The Galaxy Council is hereby dissolved," she announced, her words broadcast to every inhabited world in known space. "The system of centralized galactic governance that has existed for 5,000 years is ended." She paused, looking around the chamber where so much had changed. "However, this does not mean humanity seeks to replace the Council as galactic rulers. We did not fight this war for conquest. We fought for the right to exist." Admiral Min Seo-han stood beside the president, representing Earth's military forces. Captain Hyojin Park flanked her other side, carrying the flag that had been draped over her brother's memorial service. "The terms of surrender are as follows," President So-young continued. "First, all remaining Council military forces will be disbanded. No species may maintain military forces capable of threatening other worlds." The gaseous Mordun representative pulsed with distress. "Without military protection, how will we defend ourselves from raiders and pirates?" "That brings us to the second term," the president replied. "Humanity will establish a galactic defense force, comprised of volunteers from all willing species. This force will exist solely to protect peaceful worlds from external threats." General Kyung-soo, Yoon stepped forward with a holographic display showing the new organizational structure. Unlike the Council's military, this defense force will be decentralized. Each species will contribute according to their abilities and will maintain local autonomy. No single species or world will control the others. Dr. Kang activated another display showing scientific and cultural exchange programs. Third, all species will share scientific and cultural knowledge freely. The practice of hoarding technology or information to maintain power is forbidden. Thexara spoke again, its voice gaining a note of confusion. "You are..." Giving us our freedom? After defeating us completely? President So-young nodded. Humanity learned long ago that ruling others through fear and oppression ultimately fails. We prefer cooperation to conquest. But you have the power to control us, protested the metallic Zindari representative. Why don't you use it? Captain Hyejin stepped forward, her voice carrying the pain of personal loss and the strength of human resolve. Because my brother died believing in a better way. He believed that different species could work together as equals. The council killed him for that belief, but they couldn't kill the idea. She looked directly at Thexara. You murdered an innocent diplomat because you were afraid of what humans might become. You were right to be afraid, but not for the reasons you thought. President So-young resumed her address. The fourth term establishes the Interspecies Cooperation Institute, to be located here on Nexus Prime. Dr. Kang will serve as its first director. Dr. Kang bowed formally. The institute will study methods of peaceful cooperation between species with different biologies, psychologies, and cultures. Its goal is to prevent the kind of tragic misunderstanding that led to this war. The fifth and final term, President So-young said, is the establishment of a memorial to all who died in this conflict. It will serve as a reminder of the cost of prejudice and fear. She gestured to where the council's judgment seat had once stood. Now there was a simple stone monument engraved with words in dozens of languages. The inscription reads, Ambassador Hyunwoo Park died seeking peace among the stars. His sacrifice reminds us that understanding must replace fear, and cooperation must replace conquest. The ceremony concluded with representatives from 47 species signing the new Galactic Cooperation Charter. It was not a document of surrender, but a mutual agreement to work together as equals. As the formal proceedings ended, Thexara approached President So-young privately. I do not understand your species, the crystalline being admitted. You had the power to make us your slaves. Instead, you offer us partnership. President So-young smiled sadly. That's because you never understood what made humans dangerous. It wasn't our weapons or our tactics. It was our refusal to accept that things can't be better. Admiral Min-seo was establishing her new office as Director of Galactic Defense. Her first priority was recruiting volunteers from former council species who wanted to help protect peaceful worlds. Admiral, reported Commander Jae-sung, we have volunteer applications from 26 species. The Zindari are offering their engineering expertise. The Morden want to contribute their atmospheric flight capabilities. Excellent, Min-seo replied. Make sure every volunteer understands that they're not serving humanity. They're serving the principle that every sapient species has the right to exist in peace. Captain Hyejin was given command of the memorial construction project. As she oversaw the installation of her brother's monument, she reflected on how much had changed. He would have been proud, Admiral Min-seo said, joining her at the construction site. He would have been horrified by the war, Hyejin replied. But yes, I think he would be proud of what came after. The memorial was more than just a stone marker. It included a museum documenting the history of galactic civilizations, showing both their achievements and their failures. The goal was education, not glorification of any single species. Dr. Kang's institute began its work immediately. Teams of scientists from dozens of species worked together to develop better communication protocols, conflict resolution methods, and cooperative technologies. The irony, Dr. Kang explained to his diverse staff, is that the council was right about human potential. We are dangerous when threatened, but they miss the other side of human nature. We're also incredibly generous when welcomed. President So-young made her final address from Nexus Prime before returning to Earth. Today marks not the end of one empire and the beginning of another, but the start of something new. For the first time in galactic history, no single species rules over others. We are all free to pursue our own destinies while working together for mutual benefit. She looked out at the assembled representatives, seeing hope in faces that had once shown only fear. The Galaxy Council believed that peace required control, that stability required oppression. They were wrong. True peace comes from justice. Real stability comes from cooperation. As the President's ship departed Nexus Prime, thousands of other vessels arrived carrying diplomats, scientists, traders, and explorers from across the galaxy. The station that had once been the seat of an oppressive empire was becoming a hub of free exchange and cooperation. Admiral Min-seo remained as the station's administrator. Her office overlooked the memorial where Hyunwoo's words were inscribed in stone. Remember who we are. She thought about those words often. Humans were explorers, builders, dreamers. They were also survivors and warriors when necessary. But most importantly, they were capable of growth, of learning from their mistakes and becoming better. The galaxy was learning the same lesson. Species that had been enemies for millennia began working together. Technologies that had been hoarded were shared freely. Cultures that had been isolated began to blend and create new forms of art and philosophy. It wasn't perfect. There were still conflicts, misunderstandings, and problems to solve. But now there was a framework for addressing these issues through cooperation, rather than domination. Captain Hyejin established a new tradition. Every year on the anniversary of her brother's death, representatives from all member species would gather at the memorial. They would read the names of all who died in the war and renew their commitment to peaceful cooperation. We remember not just Hyunwoo, she would say at each ceremony, but everyone who died because fear was stronger than understanding. We honor them by choosing hope over hatred, cooperation over conquest. The memorial became more than a monument to the dead. It became a symbol of what sapient species could achieve when they worked together as equals. Children from dozens of worlds would visit and learn about the cost of prejudice and the value of diversity. Years passed. The galaxy that had once been ruled by the iron fist of the Council became a thriving community of independent worlds. Trade flourished, science advanced, and new forms of art emerged from the mixing of different cultures. Humanity found its place among the stars not as conquerors, but as